What's up guys? Today we're going to check out Godzilla Minus One on 4K Blu-ray. I'm not here to talk about how good or bad the movie is, I'm just going to share some thoughts on the audio and video quality. Now let's go over a few tech specs. The movie was shot in 6K. It's got a 4K DI. It's rated PG-13. Runtime is 124 minutes. Aspect ratio is 239:1, and the audio is in Dolby Atmos. Before we take a look at the audio and see how active this mix is, if you don't know what the Atmos viewer is, you can find a link down below in this video's description that tells you all about it, what it does, and where to get it. You can also find a list of all the gear that I use for these 4K reviews down there as well. Keep in mind that you'll have to import this movie at either Amazon Japan or you can pick it up on eBay since there is no US version available at the time of this video. Jumping over to the Atmos viewer, you can see that in my 6 Atmos height channel setup, that the top middle rows are the only ones that are active. So if you want a more constant immersive feeling and you have 6 or more height channels, 4 top channels would be the way to go for this particular movie. That said, here in chapter 1 there's some subtly enveloping atmospheric effects which create this sense of being outside in this town. It's not only in the lower channels, but the top channels get a nice dusting of spatial effects up top. And you'll get this light ambiance for most of the movie when Godzilla isn't wreaking havoc. Now, when he is wreaking havoc, that's when the Atmos effects kick into high gear. And if you do have 6 or more height channels in your setup, the action scenes are where they're going to be put to really good use. Here in chapter 3, when the bomb goes off, there's these swirling effects that circles around your room in a counterclockwise motion. In chapter 4, Godzilla tries to attack a couple of boats, and we get some more heavy-duty surround activity. Although there's no objects floating in space, it's still an aggressive scene. It's one of those action scenes where 4 top channels will work better than 6. And if you guys got your panties all in a bunch on the Oppenheimer 5.1 bomb mix, Godzilla's gonna show you how it's done. At 59 minutes, his atomic breath is gonna send all of your speakers into pure chaos with debris engulfing your entire home theater. You might just find yourself ducking for no reason. If you're gonna blow something up in surround sound, then this is the way to do it. Along with all the chaos comes demo-worthy bass. This is right up there with Dune Part 2. The explosions hit hard and drop deep enough to rattle your windows across the other side of your house. You'll feel every footstep as if Godzilla is right outside stomping through your neighborhood. It's impressive bass if you have impressive subwoofers. And of course, the dialogue was always easy to hear, although if you don't understand Japanese, you're probably going to find yourself reading for most of the time anyways. And thank you to my Patreon supporters for making it possible for me to import Godzilla Minus One on 4K Blu-ray so I can bring you, the home theater movie loving community, this 4K review. If you appreciate these free videos I make for you guys and want to support the channel for as little as $1 a month, you can find a link for my Patreon down below in this video's description. As mentioned earlier, this is a Japanese imported disc, so the spoken language is in Japanese and there are no English subtitles. It's not a big deal if you understand Japanese, but if you don't, it might be kind of hard to understand and follow what's going on, although it's really not that hard. What I did was back up the disc so I could watch it on my Zidu player. From there, you can go into the subtitle option and download the appropriate subtitles. You might have to be a member of the subtitle.org membership or something like that to get it working, or you can Google search Godzilla Minus One subtitles, put the file that you just downloaded in a separate folder on your Zidu or compatible 4K player, then choose the external subtitle that you just downloaded. Most 4K Blu-ray players are not going to be able to do this, so your best bet is to rip the movie and play it back on a player like a Zidu. If you're not tech savvy and you don't know how to rip your movies or back your movies up, then you're going to have to wait for an official US release. All that said, the video quality here is nearly 4K crispy. I say nearly because it does look like they added a very faint layer of grain on top of the image. It still looks extremely clean, and I doubt anyone is going to confuse this movie for one shot on film, but it does have a touch of softness to it. They might have done it to get rid of the digital edginess that's done when you're shooting on digital cameras, and to blend in the CG effects with the live action stuff better. The detail here is still top notch, so skin imperfections, pores, strands of hair are all accounted for and rendered to a high degree. The digital effects sometimes look a bit off and look obviously fake, but I tell you what, for a lower budget Godzilla movie, and we're talking 15 million bucks here for budget, versus Godzilla x Kong's $135 million budget, Godzilla in this movie looks like he's a real, actual creature compared to the Americans' CG cartoon. So yes, the digital effects work on Godzilla Minus One is extremely well done and blended in great with all of the live action elements. The only thing that looked off was maybe the way that he walked, but it has nothing to do with the 4K transfer. I just thought it was a little bit odd. As for the HDR, it's got a max CLL of 10,000 and a max FALL of 1523. Going by those numbers, I was kind of expecting Aquaman levels of brightness, but it was more like Gran Turismo level of brightness. It wasn't super dim, I was just expecting a lot more. It's also not going to be an HDR showcase for brightness and vibrant colors, like I'm sure Godzilla x Kong is going to be. This one is more muted with a lot of gray tones and dialed down saturation. It does look duller compared to any Godzilla vs. Kong movie. Black levels were decent and added good contrast to the image, while specular highlights I didn't think got eye-searingly bright, still has plenty of HDR pop. Godzilla's atomic breath and bright blue glow looked fantastic and a great contrast to the duller color palette of the film. Overall, this is one of the best looking Godzilla movies out there. It's 4K sharp with tons of detail with a pleasant use of HDR. I'm gonna go with a 9.1 for video. For audio, this is a great mixture of subtle atmospherics with plain flat-out Atmos madness. I wish it scaled properly for higher speaker count setups, so I've got to knock it a couple points for that, and the bass is demo worthy. So I'm gonna go with a 9.6 for audio. Well, what are your thoughts on Godzilla Minus One on 4K? Did you import it or are you gonna wait for a US release? Leave a comment down below and let me know. Now, if you do want to pick up this movie, I'll leave some links for it down below in this video's description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. If you want, you can follow us on social media. And if you want to support the channel and get exclusive content or great discounts on audio and video gear, then stop by our Patreon page. Be sure to like this video if you found it useful and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you again in the next video.